Hey everybody, welcome to the first demo for InDesign. We're going to go over some basic page layout and work on implementing different kinds of graphics and playing around with type in a postcard layout. We're going to create a postcard for a grand opening for a mock coffee shop here in Johnson. It's just a pretend coffee shop, but hopefully it will give you a good sense of how to lay things out for a kind of a basic design. The first thing you'll need to do is drag the project folder to the desktop. And if we double click that, we'll see that we have a series of files here. We have the project file itself, INDD, stands for InDesign. Links are all of the images we'll be importing into our design. And then we also have our fonts here. The first thing we'll want to do is install these fonts. So the way we do that is we double click on the font, and we're just going to go for the Ostrich Bold.ttf, Pacifico, and Ostrich Regular. We can ignore the others. So like I said, you just double click and say install font, and it installs it. And then do it again for Pacifico. Going to choose install font, and then once more for Ostrich Regular. All right, so here's kind of what we'll be creating. As you can see, we have the front and the back down here. If you can't read that, that says a Hipster Goat Coffee Shop. That's our pretend name. You can see a series of elements on the front cover and then a series of elements on the back. So this is what we're going to recreate today. So what we want to do is, I'm going to X out of that. And we're going to go to File, New, Document. And this window will come up. And what we're going to do is we're going to choose inches for our units, and our oversized postcard is going to be 9 inches by 6 inches, and that's a pretty standard size for a marketing postcard like this. Then we're going to just hit create. Actually, no, sorry, we're going to choose a bleed, which is 0.125 all around. So once you click out of that top field, it should autofill the rest. And then you hit create. Okay, now we're going to first just take a look at our document here. We have the page, and then you'll notice this red line that goes around it. That is our bleed line. And that's where all of our graphics are going to go that we want to go to the edge of our page. And I'll show you that in a minute. So here's what we need to do. We need to go to File, Place, INDD. So I need to navigate to my project folder and go into Links and choose goat.jpg. So that's our first element here. And as you can see, it attaches to my cursor. So wherever I click, that's where it's going to place it. What I want to do is click on the image itself. Be careful not to click on this little transparent circle, but on the image, and we're going to tuck it right up into the corner of the red border. And then I'm going to hold down Shift and Command on my keyboard and click and drag the bottom corner out all the way so the bottom of this image touches the bottom red line. So we're actually going to kind of go over, and that's okay. I'm going to zoom out here a little bit. And then I'm going to crop in on that right side. So it looks like that. So we're inside the bleed line, but we're outside of the actual document border. So we have the black line and the red line right there. We want our image to be on the red line. All right, next part is to create a text box. So I'm going to grab my text tool. I'm going to click and draw text box, and I'm going to type in Hipster Goat on two separate lines. And I'm going to give this, this font is going to be Ostrich, bold. And then I'm going to make it much larger. But before I do that, I think I will change my leading. So right now my type is 72 points. If you're not seeing these controls up here, you can go to Workspace, Essentials, Classic, and you should have the same setup as I do. Just depends on what workspace you're in. But to get exactly what you're seeing on my screen, on your screen, that's where you'll need to go. Workspace, Essentials, Classic. So again, my type at the moment is 72 points with a 58-point leading. So that's the space between the two lines. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to shrink my text box just to kind of fit around that type nice and tightly. And I'm going to put it right here in the corner of my purple margin line. And I'm going to hold down, again, Shift-Command and resize it to fill the page. Now, holding down Shift-Command allows the type to be scaled up or down with your bounding box. If you don't hold that down, you end up just making the text box bigger, but the text itself doesn't move with it. So again, Shift-Command and then drag the corner out. And there we have some larger type that fits within the parameters we've made. I'm then going to go to swatches and just make this yellow. I think that's kind of cool. And then I'm going to click and drag a new text box, say coffee shop. And I'm going to make this font Pacifico. So these are all the fonts that we downloaded initially before beginning this project. I'm going to make the text box fit tight around the font, and then I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, something like that. Kind of stick it in there, I guess. So Hipster Goat Coffee Shop. And then I have one more element to add here, and that's going to come through by placing it, Command D, place. And I'm going to grab my coffee1.jpg, and I'm just going to kind of stick it right here in the corner. But what I want is for it to kind of blend into the background. I'm cropping it also on the left and the bottom just by dragging my bounding box tight to the bleed border. When I select it, I can then go to my effects palette and choose multiply. And what that does is it takes away the white and leaves the stain of the graphic, the color. You'll also notice that I now have kind of these like intersecting lines. These are the frame edges. So if you do want to just see a quick preview of what your design looks like without those frame edges, you can just click this little preview button here, or it's a W on the keyboard, and you can just toggle back and forth to see what it looks like without those lines. Okay, so that's how we design the front. Now we want to design the back. So we're going to go to the Pages tab. I'm going to choose a new page down here and quickly reference what I wrote on the back of the original. So we have Hipster Goat Coffee Shop, an address, grand opening, and the day of the grand opening. So what I'm going to do is I'm first going to, again, go to File, Place. And you'll notice some of these files are different formats. We have two JPEGs. We have an AI, so this is actually an Illustrator file, go2.ai. So this is actually a vector-based file, so we could change the color of the glasses if we wanted to, or there's different things there we could do. But for now, we're just going to go ahead and place it right in. Click anywhere. It's a little big, so again, holding down Shift-Command on the keyboard, I'm going to scale it down about half. here in the corner, something like that. And then I'm going to create another text box, hipster goat, all on one line this time. Ostrich for a font. And I'll put it right here. I'm going to copy this by holding down Option and clicking and dragging it. And I can change this to say coffee shop. And again, I'm going to change that to Pacifico. And you'll notice it disappears, and that's because that font doesn't fit inside this size of a text box anymore. So I just got to stretch the text box to be bigger, and then I can kind of come tighten it into it. And I can either change the font size this way by decreasing it, or I could simply just hold down Shift Command and scale it down to do something like that. And I was kind of neaten up my design by bringing the text boxes in tight to the type that it's containing. Now I'm going to create my own vector graphic within InDesign, and I'm going to do that with the pen tool. And I'm going to start just before the F there, holding down Shift so it's a perfectly straight line, and then deselecting that, creating another one in between, deselecting that, and then one last line there. What we can do with the selection tool is we can select all three of those and make that a little thicker. And we can even change the style line, so we can change these to polka dots if we wanted, which is kind of fun. And maybe I will change that to a yellow stroke. I'm going to go to my color palette. Where are you? There you are. So if I go to CMYK, I can make the yellow a little bit darker so it's a little easier to see on the white. I might even make the stroke slightly larger at that point. So something like that. I think I settled with 3-point stroke. All right, now I'm going to make another text box. Just come up with a fake address, so 58 Main Street, Johnson, Vermont, 05656, so people know where to go. Again, ostrich, but this time I'm going to choose medium, which is a slightly different font in that it doesn't have kind of that double stroke look. Just kind of stick it right in there. I can copy this by holding down Option and dragging, and I can change this to grand opening, exclamation point. Bring the text box tight in, and then Shift Command and stretch it, scale it up, like so. Something like that. Grand opening, and then again, I am selecting the text box, holding down Option, and creating another copy. And then I'm changing the type to say May 4th, 2021. So, next year. Okay. I think I'll change grand opening to be bold. Oops. So we get that double look, double line look there. Kind of differentiates those two lines. I also want people to know that I'm on social media, so I can go to File, Place, and I have a social media graphic. We can bring in there social media icons, copy, or place, and then just select any old place. I'm going to tighten the box again to the graphic. Let those sit right on top of the design. And the last thing is I'm going to go to the front, click on my coffee stain, hit copy, Command C, and then I'm going to go click on the second page, and I'm going to choose Edit, Paste in Place. What's it over here? Well, that's okay. So I'm just going to click and drag over here. And as you can see, because we copied and pasted it from the front page, it holds the multiply effect option, so we end up seeing through it, which is kind of what we want. And that's all there is to this design. I do want to show you, though, how to save a file in InDesign, because this is important when you hand this in. I won't be able to see it because when I grade, I'm on a different computer that doesn't have these fonts and doesn't have these images. So if you hand it in without saving it in a special way, your design will look all screwed up. So what you'll have to do is you'll need to first go to File, Package, and we're just going to say Package, and it must be saved. So we're going to hit Save, and we'll call this, save it to the desktop, we'll call this Hipster Goat Card, and then put your name on it, like that. And then it's going to ask you, okay, where do you want to save the package contents? And what this means is it's creating a package of all the images you use and all the fonts, along with a PDF and an IDML file, which is a file that someone can open if they're using an older version of InDesign. So what you'll see is the title of your project with the word folder added to it, because it's creating a folder that holds all of those files. So if I go, I can say, yes, that works. I'm saving it to my desktop, and I'll just hit package. Say okay, okay. Just click through those warnings, and when I minimize, you'll see it saved right here. So I can go ahead and open this up, and we'll see we have my PDF. We have the INDD file, which is the file we created, the IDML file, which is the file people with an older version of InDesign can use to open it. We have all the fonts that we used and all the links that we used. So when you hand this in on the server, this is the file that you want to put into your folder that I will then grade. All right, that's it.